Gerry Visca, the founding publisher of Defyeneurs, and we are live with Mike Place. So excited, so honored for this featured profile, this exclusive profile in the largest issue of Defyeneurs, the top 50 relationship marketing tips. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, Gerry. Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
You know, Mike, the more and more that we spend time with you, we're really inspired by just your journey, what you're doing, what you're creating in this world. And I just want to start off with this quote that you've shared in the publication. And it starts off with, no matter where someone is on their journey, there's always hope. And I love this word hope with you. Can you just maybe expand on this quote and what that means to you?
Well, Gerry, it means a lot, and the reason that I put that quote out there is because it resonates so deeply within me because of my own personal journey. I went through a time in life where as I was growing up, I was, very successful in baseball and was actually being recruited and going down that path, and my dreams and all my goals and my ambition was to become a professional baseball player, as many people's, goals obviously are. But I was being recruited and I was going down that path and I was chasing that dream, and I went through a point where I actually had an injury and I ended up breaking my wrist. And that pretty much brought my baseball career to a screeching halt. And it devastated me. And, it really brought me to a point where I didn't have hope. I didn't have any direction. Like, that was it for me. And when that was taken from me, it put me in a very deep and dark place. And I was just kind of going through life and just surviving. Next thing I knew, I fell into a job. And, I thought it was going to be something short-term, just kind of something to pay the bills, if you will. Next thing I knew, 7 years later, I was still there. And I was miserable. Like, I hated my life. I hated my job. I'm a pretty easygoing, mellow guy, but I was out on the freeway all day long. And for some reason, if you get me out on the freeway, man, it's a whole different ballgame. Yeah, but, I never forget being stuck in traffic one day, and traffic just came to a standstill. And I just remember sitting there, and I remember I just had this moment of just stillness. And I just remember looking around, and I just remember going like, what happened? Like, how did I get here? And in that moment, I'll never forget this, because I asked myself a question. And I looked at myself and I went, if I would have looked at you when you were growing up, and I would have told you that you would be in this position working this job. I was making $36,000 a year, and I was miserable doing it out on the freeway. And I was like, would you have believed me if I would have told you that you'd be doing that when you were growing up? And, I mean, I answered that question. I was like, I would have told you were crazy. There was no way that I ever would have thought I would have been there. And I was so miserable that I had lost hope. And it was in that very moment that my life changed, because that is where I made the decision to go for more and to really dig down deep. And, I actually found a quote by Les Brown, and it said, no matter how bad it gets or how bad it is, I'm going to make it. And I remember writing that down, and I remember I put it up on my bathroom mirror. And that was the thing that I really just held on to, because it was a journey and I really had to fight for it. But the more and more I started coming back, I was actually able to get into the real estate business. I made 6 figures on a part-time basis, and just really pulled myself out of that hole. But it started to show me that hope. And, it's kind of like where in the Bible it talks about where people will perish where there is no vision. And I feel like so many people go through life and, it might not be a baseball career. It might not be, whatever that is. But certain things happen to us in life where I believe at some point we lose that hope. When you look at a kid when he's growing up, and you ask him what does he want to be for a living, he'll tell you, I want to be a fireman, I want to be a police officer, I want to be a lawyer, an attorney. They have all these different things that they want to be in life, but yet somewhere along life as we're growing up, we lose that. And then we end up, just falling into a job, and we end up just basically surviving. And that's why, the hope is so powerful within me, because no matter where you're at along that journey, there's always a way to be able to get to a better place. There's always hope. And that's really, what my passion is to be able to instill that hope into other people and to be able to help and be the bridge for them and get them to be able to really live a more fulfilled life.
Extraordinary, Mike. Absolutely extraordinary. I love that. Go for more. Les Brown, just an absolute inspiration. Let's just take that hope a little bit further, because I really, really love how you answer this. How are you inspiring hope in others?
As far as inspiring hope in others, that is by far my biggest passion, because I believe that it's a quote by Gandhi, but he says, be the change that you want to see in the world. And, that's the biggest thing for me, is to be congruent with that and to live an inspired life, to live a fulfilled life, to really push myself beyond my own capabilities. And, by doing that, it, almost gives people permission to do the same. And, my ultimate purpose and passion is to help others really get a hold of why they want to do something, and to be able to really help them as far as, moving forward and becoming successful.
That's excellent. I love that you quoted Gandhi, yet another great quote. And, I have an expression, be what you seek. And my question for you would be, what are you seeking, Mike?
As far as, what I'm seeking, I'm seeking to live a more fulfilled life. I'm seeking an opportunity to give others the same gift that I've been given. Like when I went through all of that, what's so crazy is I actually had a speaking engagement not too long ago, and myself and my wife, we go into this corporate structure. We're walking in there, and, all we see are cubicles. And we walk by, and somebody comes walking out of one of them, and I was like, hey, how are you doing today? And he's like, oh, just another day. And I just had that moment of just thinking, like, man, that sucks. Like, just another day. It's kind of the same thing that people talk about is, thank God it's Friday. Or, I'm just getting by. And you have all these people that are just kind of going through life, surviving through life. I heard a quote one time where somebody talked about most people die at age 25 and they're buried at age 65. And they go through life and they just kind of get into that job and they're just kind of surviving. And, what I'm really seeking in Isaiah, in the Bible, it talks about setting the captives free. And I believe that so many people are captive, so many people are held down by corporate America or even their self-limiting beliefs. And really what I'm seeking is to be able to help those other people set themselves free, to reignite their goals and their dreams, but most importantly, to get them to take the necessary actions to achieve them.
Extraordinary, absolutely. And I love your references as well to the Bible, especially for this issue. As you know, this issue of Defyeneurs, Mike, is focused on building relationships, nurturing relationships, cultivating them. And I love the energy of you and your wife and your approach to relationships. How are you both nurturing relationships in others?
Well, as far as how we're nurturing relationships with others, it comes full circle and just the same exact thing of first and foremost, just being a solid foundation or, really coming together She's my number one earthly priority, and by really being that for her and really helping her, and she does the same for me, we come to a very strong unity. And in that unity and in that solid foundation, that allows us to therefore then turn around and, one, be the example for those people, but then it also allows us to serve people on a much deeper scale. I actually got married about 5 months ago, and, one of the craziest things when I was going through and we were getting married is you'd be talking to different people, and, certain people, you tell them, I'm getting married in a week, and us guys, unfortunately, most of them are like, oh, man, don't do it, or, just different things like, oh, you could always just tell that there was almost a negative aspect to it, or vibe, if you will. And if you look at the divorce rate, I can see why. But at the same time, it really made me look at it and go, that sucks. Like, it's unfortunate that people have that type of mentality when it comes to marriage, when it comes to relationships, those types of things. And, that is something me and my wife are passionate about, is really being the example for people, but and showing them how to do the same. Because I feel like a lot of people don't really work on it. They don't take the time to, really take care of the little things. And by taking care of those little things and really pouring into each other, it can be a phenomenal aspect. I think that's why everybody really wants it. They don't, that's why they go through it. But unfortunately, they think they get there and they arrive, and then they don't have to work at it. So the way that we nurture relationships is to just continually pour in and pour in. What it reminds me of is the bamboo seed. You can take a Chinese bamboo seed. I don't know if you've heard this or not, but you can take a Chinese bamboo seed and you can plant it. And for 5 years, you have to water and fertilize it every day. And it will not break the ground. You're just watering and fertilizing. You can't see it growing. You can't see anything happening. And it takes 5 years for that seed to sprout. And as that seed sprouts, though, in 6 weeks, it grows 90 feet tall. Okay? And the way that we associate that is that's with the relationships that we have. We nurture and we water, we fertilize, we nurture, we water, we fertilize, and you might not see instant results. You might not see people responding right away, but you just nurture and you just love them right where they're at, and you give them that nurturing, that water, that fertilizing, and you feel it and you feel it and you feel it, and in 6 weeks it can grow 90 feet tall, and that's where you can watch someone just almost instantaneously, finally, they get what they need. They get the proper nutrients that they need, and they're able to grow and run and just live an amazing life. So that's really, the way that I could sum that up.
Excellent. I love the bamboo reference. I've used that actually quite often. It's a great reference because it's a great example of growth. It's actually 9% of its growth is below the surface, and I love that reference. You're inspiring others as a speaker, and I just want to get into this next area of questions, which is around why you've chosen relationship marketing as a path to really live your passion, live your why. So why relationship marketing?
This is a great question. This was one that I actually struggled with because as I first started to get into relationship marketing and looking at it, it was something I had to get past with my own self-limiting beliefs. But the more I started really looking at it, and the more that I started looking at, I guess you can say, corporate America, I realized that relationship marketing is really the way of the future. Because when you look at, corporate America, the average 65-year-old right now is retiring with less than $60,000 in their bank account. And when you look at that model in that industry, it is the past. And, I'm like, I don't know about you, but I don't want to retire with, even double that. I mean, to make or to live a decent life, there's got to be a better way. And the more I started looking into relationship marketing, the more that I started loving the model of it. I mean, working in corporate America, to get any type of promotion or to get any type of raise or anything else, you got to be, evaluated by your boss. It's political. You've got all these other things that are working against you. And then even at the top, your CEO, you only have one guy in that position for years. So your chances of getting to the top are minimal. And what I love about relationship marketing is the biggest ceiling that you have is yourself. And there is nothing holding you back to what you're capable of being able to do. You don't have to wait for someone to retire or someone to get fired from a certain position to get an increase. In relationship marketing, you get to basically move up as much as you're willing to work for it. But the other thing that I love about it is that, by helping other people achieve their goals and their dreams, you are benefiting just the same. It reminds me of Zig Ziglar, who said, help enough other people get what they want, and you'll have everything that you want. And, that's what I love about this more than anything is you can truly serve people, you can help them, you can, really allow them to live a better life, and you're blessed, all the way through the process just the same. So that's really what I love about relationship marketing.
That's extraordinary answer. I love how your energy is going towards developing others, really focused on personal development. I love that. Why this particular? Tell me about the company you've chosen to, in relationship marketing.
Well, this was, I believe it was all God that led me in this direction because, like I said, it was a struggle for me as I first got up and running, but God really didn't give me a choice. The reason I chose the company that I'm with now is, I went through a time where I was in phenomenal shape physically, and I was in great shape. I still am, but I mean, the reason I say that is I thought I was healthy because I was, in shape, 8 to 10% body fat, just good things. And I don't say that to brag. I just say it because I always associated health with being in shape. And I went through a time where I ended up going to a holistic doctor, got a bunch of tests, blood work, all these different things. And long story short, I found out that my PSA level was high. Like I was at high risk for prostate cancer. And that scared the heck out of me because I had been in real estate for years and I was always focused in on cash flow and rentals and flipping properties, and that was my focus. And as I went through all of this and I found it out, I always thought that, I was in real estate to try to get time freedom, passive income through properties, cash flow, because I thought time was our biggest asset. So if I could free myself through cash flow, then I was a wealthy man, quote unquote. And what I learned in that very moment is you can have rentals, you can have cash flow, you can have, all this stuff. But if you don't have your health, what good is any of it? Like none of that, was doing me any good in that situation. And that's where I really learned that health is the biggest asset we can have. Because even if you have time in this world, but your health, you're not living a quality of life, that's no way to, to live. And that's what really led me into this business is, I wanted to get into it and I wanted to heal myself and I wanted to bring my PSA level back down to normal. And I went through all of it and I was able to really get my body at a very healthy state, both inside and out. And, that's what I love about this business more than anything else is what I've learned is when we can impact someone's health, that impacts every aspect of their life. They're a better mother. They're a better father, a better employee, whatever that might be. And that's the greatest thing that we love about this, is by being able to impact someone's health, and not only that, but self-esteem. Just by being able to help someone feel better about themselves, more energy, more drive, that allows them to live a more fulfilled life. So that's really why I know that, God put me through everything and really led me in this direction, is to make a bigger impact on a whole aspect for someone rather than just in a small area.
Extraordinary. I love it. You're really impacting others, Mike, making a real difference in people's lives. So that leads to, the final question, which is, what is your legacy, and what do you really want to be remembered for?
Well, this one really made me look within myself, as I wanted to set out and to build a legacy, if you will. And kind of the same thing is, I thought about rental properties. I thought about cash flow and wealth, as we're taught in this world, to do. And, when I really started looking at like a legacy, what is a legacy to me? And what I started realizing is, when I was going through life and I went through my ups and downs and I lost my goals and my ambitions, I kind of gave up. And, I feel like as I've gone through everything that I've gone through in life, the only thing that I've learned is, I heard a quote by Henry David Thoreau, and it said, "Oh God, to reach the point of death, only to realize you've never lived, only to realize you've never scraped the surface of your true potential." And, that hit home with me so deeply that that's what I realized. A true legacy for me would be a legacy of living an inspired life, living a life full throttle, just all out, nothing to hold you back, and really being able to live a life that you look back on with no regrets. And, that to me is a true legacy, is, being able to be that example for the next generation coming up, of not settling, of not selling yourself short, but most importantly, allowing what's in you to really come out and to come to fruition.
Absolutely extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. A place for opportunity. Mike Place, page 12 and 13, in the most explosive issue, most inspiring issue of Defyeneurs, the top 50 relationship marketing tips. We're absolutely honored, Mike, to publish you, publish your wife in this issue. Thank you so much for your inspiration to listeners and to readers all over the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gerry. I'm so honored and blessed to be a part of your magazine. You're doing some great things.